Hello, Facebook. So, before I get into the topic of what has inspired me, I don't want to say triggered because I'm inspired to have a chat. And my first inclination was go to Facebook, right? But I created a YouTube channel because Facebook deletes videos after 30 days now. And they've been doing that for a while. So I was like, I'll just go make a YouTube and I'll make videos on YouTube. But the thing is, some videos I don't necessarily want to share here from there, because sometimes I do really talk about personal things, and Facebook is very personal for me, much more so than YouTube, right? But I also oddly feel like Facebook is kind of home. I feel like Facebook is where I really started sharing my voice, and it's what feels most comfortable for me as far as expressing and sharing and creating content. I would rather call it creating conversation than creating content, because I'm not trying to create content. I'm not necessarily trying to get paid. I'm not necessarily trying to be known. Like, I kind of almost would prefer to not be known. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to, I'm kind of testing a new idea, because Facebook is the place where I started and I feel most at home and I feel most myself and most aligned. Like, when I record for YouTube and then upload, which I never edit because I don't have time or fucks. So we'll see if I ever get around to having time or fucks to edit for people. Either I'm your cup of tea or I'm not, and I'm okay with not being, and I'm okay with being. So that's why I'm making this video today. I've been trying to do, back in the day I used to do Vulnerable AF Fridays on Facebook pretty regularly, and then I kind of took a break for a while, and then I came back, and that was when I realized that Facebook had changed it so that videos auto-delete after 30 days, and I was very WTF about it, because if I take the time to put myself out there, whether it comes back to haunt me or not, I want that to remain out there in the ether. And maybe that's wrong, and maybe one day I'll change my mind, but for now, that's how I feel. If I bother to show my face, it's because I feel like there's a conversation that needs to be had, or something that needs to be contemplated, perhaps, even if it's just for me, even if I'm the only person that it positively affects, then I'm happy with that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, or attempt to do, is try to do more Facebook Lives and then save them and then upload those to YouTube, even though it's gonna probably make the video chocolate milk. That's fine. It is what it is. And I'll adjust and I'll whatever, and you know what I mean? I'm not really here for consumption in that just mindless, crystal clear consumption. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more of in that vein of, like, Indiana Jones. You gotta go through some tunnels to have access to what the fuck I'm thinking and feeling. So that's kind of how I equate it to. Not that I think that I'm greater than or have some better understanding or knowledge, because I don't, but because there's just so much useless bullshit in the world, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. So, which I'm entitled to have just as much as everybody else. So, this morning, my normal routine was changed because part of the routine was already done. And in that routine, the dogs get to go with me to get coffee. Coffee was already there. It was magical coffee today. So I took my dog Gizmo, who many of you know, and another dog, and we went for a walk, because it was like, well, you didn't get to go for a ride, so let's go for a walk, right? So walking on the street, walking further than I normally walk them in the morning. Like, normally I'll walk them far enough to potty, and then we get in the car and then we go. But we were walking, and as I'm walking, I have a bigger dog on a leash, and we're walking, and my dog's off leash because it's a closed street. And I see him kind of stop and investigate something on the sidewalk against the grass. And I'm like, oh, please don't let that be a bird. Because I'm thinking if it's a bird, it's probably a dead bird or an injured bird or whatever, you know what I mean? And so I get closer, and it is in fact a bird. And not only is it a bird, it is a fledgling. And I love animals. I've always loved animals. I probably like animals better than people. Oh my, you are going the wrong way. You are going the wrong way. Somebody was driving down this one-way road the wrong way. They were supposed to turn here, and they went all the way. So, whatever. So, you know, I love animals. I've always loved animals. I remember from a young age, like, always watching, like, I don't know if it was like Nat Geo, but it would be those shows where they talk about animals, and they talk about cheetahs, and they talk about, you know, all these things. And I would always hate to see, like, it would kill me. It would kill me as a small child to watch, like, some cute little animal be mauled by even the ones like cheetahs that I liked and lions and I liked them all, you know. But even though that's part of the life cycle, when you're little, you're just like, oh, like, dagger to the heart. Like, I hate seeing this little baby being eaten or ripped away, you know, whatever, right? And I don't think anybody enjoys it. I don't think any sane, psycho person enjoys really watching some cute small little animal. Sorry, you're probably a psychopath if you watch that and you enjoy that. It is what it is. So I see this bird, and of course my bleeding heart, right? My fucking bleeding heart's, oh no, like, me being a civilized human and having the knowledge of whatever knowledge I've allegedly been given, fake news, think, oh, I must take action, right? I must take action. I have to be the savior. I have to be the hero. This poor little thing, this poor little thing, you know, which I've said before, I don't know if it was here or if it was on YouTube. Sometimes, and I'm kind of going on a little bit of a tangent, and hopefully it comes back around, but sometimes when we feel sorry for people, things, animals, situations, we are unknowingly diminishing the power that they have. And I know that sounds weird and crazy, but I do think there's truth to that, because things don't need our pity. People and things don't need our pity, because that's the thing. Like, so something else I say. Here we go, going on a tangent and getting deeper into my own thoughts. Thoughts create our reality, right? What you think is what you will achieve eventually, whether you know it or not. If you're having a bad day and you're stuck in the mentality of it's going to be a shitty day and it feels like a Monday and whatever, it's going to be a shitty Monday. Even if it's a Tuesday, it's going to be a shitty Monday for you, okay? If you have a one-off experience and it kind of puts you in this is the one thing I forgot about Facebook, is the reconnect, disconnect. If you're in a situation where you're like, I'm kind of having a rough time right now, and things aren't really going the way I want them, or they're not running quite as smoothly, but I'm not going to let that derail me, and you stay in that mindset, that's the experience you're going to have. So when we create the thought of, oh, poor thing, for other people, valid, warranted or not, but when we create that for them, it in some metaphysical way, it takes away a bit of their power. Because you're already creating that reality that they're not strong enough, or they deserve to be pitied, or whatever. And it's really interesting that I have come to that sort of conclusion now as an adult, because I remember growing up, I always hated it. I hated it when I felt like people felt pity for me. Even though it was warranted, I always hated it. Because I don't want to be pitied. I know, poor thing. Like, I don't want a handout because you think life's been hard for me. You know what I mean? Like, a handout ain't going to teach me shit. It's just not. So, bleeding heart, I see this bird on the ground, and I'm like, I had that initial feeling, I must save it, you know? And then I stop for a minute, and I'm like, pause, you know? Sometimes I have to internally be like, pause, let's push pause. and think about the bird and think about life and think about things. And okay, you know, for Nicole, you know for a fact birds fall from trees all the time when they're learning to fly. He has its feathers. It's not like he was just hatched yesterday. You know, like let's slow down those emotional responses based on your own personal suffering that you've experienced, thinking, you know, I know suffering, so when I see suffering, I can't tolerate it, I can't allow it, I can't, right? So that's that whole bleeding heart. Like, we have our own suffering, and because of our own suffering, when we see suffering, like, we almost can't stand it, and we feel like we have to take action, and we feel like we have to do something. And I think that this moment, for me, is a very good reminder of the way the world is today. There's so much going on in the world where we feel like we have to step in and we have to, and I'm not saying that in all cases this is true. I'm just saying in the majority of situations, we don't need to always feel sorry for every living thing and what they're going through. And I don't say that to sound harsh or non-empathetic or sympathetic. That's not the point. The point is, when I stepped out of my bleeding heart and I went into my brain and I said, logically, Nicole, let's logic through this before we go rushing to save something and make it worse. Let's pause. Okay, so pause logistically. Okay, birds fall out of trees all the time. It has its flight feathers. Mom's probably around watching, yada. Like, these are thoughts I had, right? So then I go to the internet and I'm like, what should I do? Like, you know what I mean? Because, you know, the internet knows everything and it never lies to us or misguides us. So I go to the internet and it's like, correct. You should probably, and I'm like, my only concern is there's cats on the street. That's my main concern. And that's the one thing I don't want to witness is a cat killing a bird for fun. And do you know what I mean? Like, that's one thing I will agree about people that own cats. If you have a cat, unless you live on a farm, you should probably keep it inside, because otherwise they're going around and I say they're killing for fun. It's not really for fun. They're killing because of their natural instincts, and that's how they hone that ability to hunt and kill and eat. Okay, so I'm not gonna, let me not be like, oh, they're killing for fun, because that's not even really factual, in my opinion. From all of the fucking wild animal shows I've watched in my life, killing for sport is actually practice for when you actually need to kill something and eat. For a lot of animals like that, sometimes they will kill and not eat, but I still don't really agree with that. If it's a house cat, it's a house cat. Keep it inside. That's just kind of how, that's my personal opinion, okay? Come for me if you want, but that's my personal opinion. Don't declaw them bitches either, because that's fucked up. But anyway, so I'm like, okay, let me put the dogs away. Let me go check on this bird now and see if I actually really even need to interact. Let me go investigate. Let me step out of my savior mentality and let me go investigate the situation. So I go back, and this little turd, this little floof of a turd, has gone from the edge of the grass and the sidewalk like 3 feet into the grass in the short amount of time that I walked away, put the dogs away, and came back. And also, Mama Bird was flying around, had food in its mouth, and I'm like, see, Nicole, look, you're about to let your feelings fuck up some shit, move some bird that you didn't need to move, and make shit worse. Because of your fucking feelings, because of your bleeding heart, because, oh, I can't stand to see suffering. You know what I mean? So I just feel like it was a very important message that needed to be shared with the world today. Sometimes when you see a situation where you think something is wrong or suffering, or that, oh, they must need your help and you need to step in, you don't always, most times. Okay? Maybe just watch it and see what the fuck happens before you feel like you need to step in and do anything and save anybody. Maybe what you need to do is take all that energy, Nicole, and I'm just gonna restate this, okay? Because this is something I used to say back in the day all the time, just so that people understand the shit that I'm saying is not to any specific one or person. If anything, everything that I say goes double for me. Okay, all these fucking ahas that I have that I feel like sharing sometimes, or what the fuck is this about that I feel like sharing at times, or but did you ever consider this that I feel like sharing at times, all that shit does double for me. I am making a bad decision. So I don't say this to target anybody or to make anybody feel any kind of way. Like, these are conversations for me. When I look at this camera, I see me. I don't see other people. I see me. So it's basically a conversation with myself, okay? So I digress. So, and some people may think, oh, well, you know, because we're, you know, trying to recall the way my brain was having this conversation with myself earlier. And it was something to the effect of, a lot of times, because my first thought was, sometimes we need to let nature take its course, and we need to trust nature. And here's one thing that I will say. I believe that nature, Mother Nature, is the mother of all. And that Mother Nature does not make mistakes. And that Mother Nature has been existing longer than any, what's the word I want to use? Any civilized society or highly educated society or anything like that. It's us usually that comes along and fucks up Mother Nature. I'm just saying, realistically, okay? So I was having this thought with myself, like, this is another example where sometimes you need to let nature be nature and not think that you need to step in and interfere. And then I was like, yeah, but then, you know, people will have a feeling about that, like, oh, well, you know, we're a civilized society and we expand upon things and we improve things and we whatever. That's true in some cases, but I think most times Mother Nature knows what she's doing. And had I interfered with that, I would have done more harm than good. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how civilized I am. Thankfully, I had the knowledge to hit the pause button on my emotions. And I think a lot of times when you're in a strong emotion, the best thing to do, if you can, is hit the pause button. And just try to filter it through your brain a little bit. Like, just a little bit. Center lane closed. Okay. So I just wanted to share that today. I just thought it was a very good lesson for myself. I thought it might help other people remember that sometimes the answer is not rushing in to save things or people. Sometimes the answer is allowing things to unfold, allowing things to play out as they're meant to. And again, that does not apply to every situation. Like if you're walking by and you see somebody stabbing somebody, that is not one of those situations where, oh, Mother Nature, we're going to let this play out. No, that is not one of those situations, okay? I think you have to kind of be mindful, like when it's appropriate to step in and when it's not appropriate. And I think, again, because we know suffering and suffering sucks and suffering lingers even when we think we've healed it, even when we think we've moved on, it's still there. You know, there's still a part of it that triggers, you know, that little cartoon, big-eyed, teary-eyed reaction out of us, you know. So I just wanted to hop on and say that, and hopefully I will be able to download this video and then upload it to YouTube. And if you want to come find me on YouTube and try to even get into whatever weird, crazy stuff goes on in my own brain, and the healing path that I've been on, and sometimes the tangents that I've shared that I kind of wish I hadn't. There are times where I have opinions and I'm like, I really wish I wouldn't have said that. And yeah, I could go back and I could delete it, but I don't know. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I hide the videos, but I'm like, I don't know if that's really on the mark. I don't really know if that's what I really wanted to express, or that I really wanted to be the one falling in that trap of division. Because sometimes I fall into the trap just like everybody else. I'm not perfect. Far from it. I'm not... You know, this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Boy, this is about to be a problem. And they have like the lane that I need to get into blocked off because they're repainting the wall over here. And so now I have to try to get over a lane and then not be a pain to anybody else, and then wait for all these barrels to end so that I can actually get in the lane that I need to get into. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to hop on, and hopefully, like I said, I'll be able to upload this. And if I'm not your cup of tea, that's cool. Don't watch. Don't tune in. Don't whatever, you know. I always welcome polite and thoughtful, you know, discord or whatever. And at the end of the day, I don't want anybody to think like me. I just want people to think. I just want people to think. You know, consider the fact that what you think you know is a lie in most things and ways. If you grew up in the indoctrination camps called public school, especially, just assume that most of what you know is probably a lie. So, and that's why I encourage people to think. So just think. Don't think like me. You don't got to think like me. You just got to do a little bit of thinking for yourself. Contemplate what you think you see. You know, I'm sure we've all heard about how every sense that you have can be deceived, right? Your ears can be deceived. You don't know how many times I think I hear somebody say something and I'd be like, what'd you say? What did you just say? And then they repeat themselves and I'm like, that is not what I heard at all. Like, at all. You know, or I'll think I saw something that I didn't see. And sometimes I do see things that I think I see, but you know what I mean? Especially in the world of AI, like everything is subject to, we have reached an age in our civilized society where everything can be scrutinized at this point. You know, there's nothing that should go unscrutinized. That's the point I'm trying to make right now. Because all your senses can deceive you, and the only thing that you can lean on when you're not sure if your senses are deceiving you or not is discernment, your intuition, and your authenticity, honestly. Because the more authentic you are, the less you're able to be controlled. And the less you're able to be controlled, the more that you're more in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing here in this world. Because I believe everybody does have a purpose. And I think a lot of us have lost sight of our purpose, or never even realized we had a purpose, because we fall into this illusion of we have to be something that everybody else thinks is the right, normal thing to do and be. So I'm just here to spread authenticity and to encourage free critical thought, and to remind you that not every situation of struggle needs a savior. Not every situation of whatever words I was using earlier that are escaping my brain right now. You know what I mean? Like, your bleeding heart is not always going to make you the better person, right? Like, let's say I had moved that bird away from the family, away from the tree that it fell out. I think it was a crepe myrtle. And what if I had known nothing about wildlife at all, and I was just like a child, and I picked up this bird and I either took it home and it died, or I moved it somewhere I thought would be better, and then a cat really did eat it. You know what I mean? It's just, you don't always have to step in and think that you have to save the world. My opinion and thought and belief will always be the best way to save the world is to just be your fucking self. Truly yourself. Because there's nobody else like you, so stop trying to be like everybody else and just be your fucking self. So that's really all I had to say today. So I don't know if I will do a video tomorrow on YouTube. If this uploads, I probably won't. But if you want to try to find me on YouTube, I don't know if I mentioned it. It's up to you. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm just saying if you're interested. You can find me on YouTube at Stand Yourself. And so that brings me to the close. If you can't stand nobody fuck else today, please stand yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself. Be loving with yourself. If you don't know self-love, you better figure it out. Okay? And the only way to do that really is to be honest with yourself and grow through the things that you want to avoid about whatever. You know, the things that you're afraid to even try to give yourself grace for, that you've been through or that you're trying to overcome. You have to be able to do those things, you know. You have to be able to look at things honestly and find the truth for yourself. That's how I had to do it. Don't let me sit here telling you how to love yourself, because you're you and you know how to love yourself better than me. But I'm just saying the things that I had to do to learn some self-love, because I did not know what self-love was for a long time. I didn't even know how to like myself for a long time, which is why my channel is Stand Yourself, and why I say if you can't stand nobody fuck else today, stand. Because if you can't stand yourself, you probably aren't standing many other people either, to be honest. Because then you're probably like me and you like animals better than people anyway. But it gets better. It gets better with time. It gets better with patience. And I've done lots of videos about some of the ways that you can start working on correcting that self-loathing. Is again, pausing in the feeling, catching the thought, questioning where did that thought come from. is that even me? Is that even something I've ever said or thought about myself? Or was that a thought that was put there by someone else? Who was that someone else? What do they mean to me? How much does what they think, feel, believe, or know carry weight or mean anything to me? And then you just kind of retrain those things. So, quick example before I leave. One of my things was like, you're worthless, you'll never have anything, blah, blah, blah. These are things I grew up with. Okay, and for a long time, because they were so ingrained in my identity of who I was, I never stopped to think while growing up that those were not things that I've had put there. I just assumed that was the truth, and that's what it was. The end. Okay, so as I got older and I was struggling, and I'm like, I'm not happy, and nothing I'm doing is working, and something has to change, and what am I going to do? I had to sit down with myself, and I'm like, okay, well, we keep doing the same again. Thought. What we think becomes our reality. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you believe. I don't care if you think I'm full of shit. I'm telling you, personal experience. I grew up, life is shit. It's going to be shit. It's always shit. Why can't things get better? That was my life. Those were my thoughts. That was my life. I had a sit down, come to Jesus moment with myself one day, 2015, and I said, you know what, self, this shit ain't working. This shit ain't working. Whatever the fuck you're doing is just getting us more of what we don't fucking want. So now we have to sit down, we have to think about stepping outside of our comfort zone and trying some things that we haven't done before, because we keep doing this, we keep doing this, we keep doing this, nothing is changing. So the doing of this is not working anymore, and we can't keep doing of this. So then I had to start changing how I thought, how I perceived things, how I went out in public, you know what I mean, where it's a whole story. It's a whole story. But so I went through that process, realized where that programming was coming from, realized that person has their own problems, and that I should not be taking anything that they say to heart at all, regardless of how much they think they might care about me. And then I had to go back and I had to be like, okay, Nicole, look, here's all these times where you got promoted and you were this and you were that. And you know what I mean? All the ways where I was not those things that I was told that I was. That directly, I had the word on the tip of my tongue and I lost it. When things directly, brain, conflict with each other, kind of like it's a direct, you know what I'm trying to say. So I had to go through that and find ways where I was able to contradict the things that were programmed into my brain and had been on a loop in my brain for most of my fucking life. And that was when life really started changing for me, and I started learning self-love, and I started learning having grace for myself. And so that's all I want to do in the world, because I think if there's more of that in the world, a lot of the things that we see that are problems and issues will sort themselves out. And that's why I ever even started sharing my voice to begin with. So I'm sure there's going to be some new people, and people may have opinions, and that's cool. That's your prerogative and whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to rest on, if you can't stand nobody fuck else, please stand yourself. And if you don't know how to stand yourself, please start learning. And if you think you don't know how to learn, start with I'll try, because that's how I had to start. There was times where I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. This is impossible. It's beyond the scope of what I know and understand. And I had to sort of submit and surrender to I'll try. I'll try to be nice to myself. I'll try to catch the playback that I don't like. I'll try to reprogram it. I'll try to write a new message. And every time that negative one comes up, I'll pause and I'll play the one in my head over and over. Nope, that's not true. That's not true. That came from a broken heart person. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Here's how it's not true. And list all the reasons that I've already proven to myself. Promoted here, promoted there, done this, done that. You know what I mean? Look at how you excelled here and did this here and blah, blah, blah. You know, so and that's how I kind of started getting into a place where I was able to tolerate myself and like myself, and learn some self-love. So I hope if nothing else, you take away that you learn how to start looking into loving yourself. So I hope everybody has a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.